everyone, this is part 2 of the section 15.4, the sense of vision. And I want to continue at the retina. And so we were looking at the eyeball structure, and there's 3 major layers. The outermost layer is the sclera, the white layer, which is continuous with the cornea. The next deeper layer is the highly vascular dark layer called the choroid. And then the deepest layer of the eyeball is called the retina. And I know everybody's heard of the retina because it's a really big deal. It's important. What the retina contains are the photoreceptors. They're the sensory receptors that detect light. So without the retina, all these parts could be functioning perfectly normally, but we wouldn't have the nervous tissue to carry the information the eye's receiving to the brain. Now notice this, here we have this layer like this, and it's continuous with this big long thing right here, which is the optic nerve. And so in the back of the eye, there's actually an interruption of the retina where there's no photoreceptors, but there's just the optic nerve comes through. And so all of the neurons in the retina are connected here and go into that optic nerve. And then if you look here, go down here. There you go. So each eyeball has an optic nerve leaving it from all those neurons in the retina, and they're going to connect to the brain in the very back. That's our occipital lobe where our vision is processed. And it's showing you right here that that visual information is being delivered to the back of the brain. Notice that the nerves kind of cross, and so the vision in your right eye is actually interpreted by the back left part of your brain, and your left eye the vision is interpreted by the right part of your brain. So the retina, again, I keep mentioning like dissecting eyes in lab, but it's really one of the most useful dissections that I think you can do, because you don't really get an appreciation for the strength of the sclera, how inflexible the lens is, and the fragility of the retina. The retina, I know you guys don't wear pantyhose very much anymore, but if you took, I always thought the retina looked like a wet layer of pantyhose. It's just really, it's like the tan, like the color of pantyhose, but it's really fragile. It's like if you got it wet, if you're dissecting an eye, you've got this like moist retina, it wrinkles really easily. And I think it really gives you an appreciation for how delicate that nervous tissue is. And so we've got these tough outer layers all protecting that really delicate retina. Now, the one thing to notice, I don't think they mention it in this chapter, but if your retina ever becomes dissociated from the choroid, we call that a detached retina. And it can happen if you get like hit in the eye. Sometimes it just happens spontaneously. But if your retina ever comes off of this choroid, you're going to see a flash of light, and then you're going to have an area of your eye that has blurry vision. And what that is the image that's projected through your eye to the back of your retina. Excuse me. The image that's being projected onto your retina might be on the part that's detached. The blurry image is going to be on the part that's detached, and it means the retina is not flat. If the retina is not flat, your image will look blurry. So the other thing that will happen is the retinal cells will start to die if they're not attached to the choroid. So a detached retina is a medical emergency. You need to get to the doctor immediately. If you see a flash and you see a blurry, if it's just even a part of your vision that won't go away, you need to get to the emergency room, and they'll put you in really fast because you could lose your vision. So if we're looking here, let's see, we talk about, and that vitreous humor, that jelly-like substance, is also holding the retina against that choroid. If you look at the retina, there's this area called the fovea centralis. So fovea means a little bit of a dip, and it's in the central part of the retina. So if you look at the image, the light coming in the eye right here, the image, the retina is almost like a movie screen, and the image is going to be projected onto this retina. And the sharpest image is going to be in this fovea centralis. That's where the lens is going to focus the image most effectively. And you can notice like what part of what you're looking at is in the fovea centralis. Pick anything and look straight at it. If you're looking at this eyeball, look straight at that eyeball. And without moving your eyes, start noticing your peripheral vision. Notice the vision to the sides of that. And I know I have a coffee cup over here. I have a book over on this side. And as I'm looking at this, the eye looks like it's nice and sharply in focus. But my coffee cup and my book are both kind of blurry. And all my fringe vision, all my peripheral vision looks definitely more blurry than what I'm looking directly at. So what you know is what you're looking at directly is right here in that fovea centralis. And then the other things that are to the sides are on these parts of the eye. You can't focus something on a curved plane like this with just the way the lens works. So this is your area of sharpest focus, and anything that's projected in these parts of the retina will be a little bit blurry. Okay. Oh, the other thing I like to point out is if this is the fovea centralis, kind of the area around it is something that people call the macula. And I mention this in lab because there's a disease called macular degeneration where you lose that neurons in the area around the fovea centralis. It happens to a lot of people as they get older. And the major sign of that is you start losing vision in the very center of your eye where your vision is the sharpest. So you only have that peripheral vision as macular degeneration progresses. I already mentioned the optic nerve, and here's just a nice summary of all these parts. I think we talked about the lens, but I did want to mention a little bit about focus. Um, the lens is what focuses your vision, and this word visual accommodation is what your lens is doing to help you look at things that are close. So you notice that there's actual work you can feel going on in your eyes as you move something farther and closer. And so what's happening is those ciliary muscles are changing the shape of your lens. And we call that visual accommodation. There's some information here about eye strain and some other interesting things. But here they're showing you that these muscles are changing the shape of the lens. Here's the light coming in, and it's going to affect how this image is projected onto the retina. And so the lens is going to change shape depending on if the object is near or far. Now the lens doesn't move very much, it just moves very slightly. So here, let's see. Okay, so we have the photoreceptors, and remember the photoreceptors are in the retina, and they're continuous with the optic nerve that goes to the brain. And probably most of you are familiar with the idea that there are two different kinds of photoreceptors that are called the rods and the cones. And here it says the rods are very sensitive to light, and therefore they're suited to night vision. They are actually, the rods can detect vision in low levels of light because they're more sensitive. And so, but the disadvantage of rods, if you can see in low levels of light, you give up the ability to see color well. So rods are the photoreceptors that can see vision in low level light. And I don't know where, oh, here they talk about the cones. The cones are the photoreceptors that are good at detecting color, but they need bright light. So if you ever noticed, if you're, in the dark, you don't see colors very well because our rods are primarily functioning and we need light to see color with our cones. So these both are photoreceptors that are found in the retina. Let's see. Okay, so here they're talking about the blind spot, and I think I put that in there. Yeah, and I think I have a thing in lab. I wanted to show you, just mention the blind spot. What the blind spot is it's something that we detect in our vision if you take time to notice it, but it's caused by the interruption of it's interruption of the retina by the optic nerve. So the optic nerve is coming into the eye right here, and what happens is the photoreceptors are not present there. And in lab, I give you a little activity to try, but let me just show you. What I did is I created a little piece of paper like this, one with a dot and one with a plus. And the best way to do it is take your plus and put it kind of in front of your eye, and take the dot side should be more lateral, more kind of more towards your ear. Okay. And so what I want to do is I want to cover up one of my eyes and try to just stare at the dot. Stare at the plus. The dot should be farther to your outside. So I'm looking at my right eye, so the dot's farther to my right, kind of beyond my ear. So close my left eye, stare at the plus, and keep staring at that plus until the, there we go, until the dot disappears. And then I can bring it forward. There, the dot came back. The dot disappeared, dot came back. And what's happening is when that dot gets projected into the part of my retina where the blind spot is, I can't see anything. Now our brain kind of adjusts for that we don't see this big blank spot all the time. Our brain kind of fills in that spot, so we don't notice it until we're really trying to notice it, like I just did. So let's see. The retina has the rods and cones. The rods are the photoreceptors that detect vision in low light. The cones detect vision in color. The blind spot is where the retina is interrupted by the optic nerve. Abnormalities of the eye, couple things to notice. Here it talks about color blindness, and I think most people have heard of color blindness. The most common forms of color blindness are genetic, and they're more common in males because the genes for color blindness are on the Y chromosome. I'm sorry, on the X chromosome. And males only have one X chromosome, and females have two. So females can have two X chromosomes, and one can be normal and one can have color blindness, and you would still have normal vision. Men only have one X chromosome. So if it has the genes for color blindness, they're going to be colorblind. It says it affects 5 to 8% of the male population. It's not uncommon for me to have a human biology class and there be somebody that's colorblind. So, and people adapt to it in all sorts of ways. So, it's not necessarily a debilitating thing. It's just kind of an interesting, variation. Let's see. Oh, here's another vocabulary word. Let's see. I don't think I put the words nearsighted and farsighted on our list, but the idea is that if you can see better close up, or you can only really focus well close up, it's called nearsighted. And if you can only focus very well far away and not near, then you're farsighted. So nearsighted and farsighted tell you what you can see. And there's a special kind of nearsightedness that's called presbyopia. And it's in here somewhere. I forget where it is. It's in this chapter somewhere. Presbyopia is a special kind of nearsightedness where it happens to people as they get older. And presbyopia is a special kind of farsightedness that happen to people as they get older. So what happens is, I'm normal. I'm normal, sort of normal. I'm 20 years old. I can read everything, no problem. But what starts happening as I'm getting older is, oh, now it's in focus when this paper's, this far away. Let's see, maybe getting there. I can read up this close. Now it's not in focus until it's that far away. Then I get to be 40. Then I get to be 50. And what you find out is people say their arms start getting too short. Well, what's happening, think about what part of the eye you need for focus. The part you need is the lens. And remember I said the lens, it moves, it focuses in response to kind of pulling of those ciliary muscles. But as you get older, the lens is not as flexible and it doesn't move very well. And so you're going to end up not being able to focus on things as they're close quite as well. So we get more farsighted as we get older. Let's see, color blindness, presbyopia. There's farsighted. Okay, another one we can get is something called astigmatism, and that's really common. I have astigmatism. It means your cornea is not shaped evenly. So your cornea has a little irregularity in it. I thought there was a picture in here somewhere. And so this is showing you the cornea is not nice and smooth, not smooth like that. There's kind of a little irregularity. And so it's going to bend the light a little bit out of focus. And you might need corrective lenses to fix that. So it's not, again, it's just a reason that you might get glasses. It gives you a little irregular focus. There's two more diseases, cataracts and glaucoma. I mentioned glaucoma already related to the aqueous humor. Cataracts is a clouding of the lens. And usually why people get cataracts is due to exposure to UV light. So if you are out in sunny locations all the time, there's a good chance that you're going to get UV damage to your lens. It happens over time, and it clouds the lens. So again, you can think if, oh, I have light coming in my eye and my lens is cloudy, it's going to start making things look a little bit darker. And it happens usually relatively slowly unless you have some kind of accident or something. And causes things to get darker. Fortunately, we have some really effective and surgeries where they can take out the lens and they replace it with a synthetic lens, and you can clear up your vision very effectively. So a lot of people get cataract surgery. Here they talk about LASIK surgery, and I know a lot of you have heard of that. It's a laser surgery that you can change the shape of the cornea. Oh, here's when they talk about presbyopia. The kind of farsightedness you get as you get older. And so if you can kind of use a laser to change the shape of the lens, you can help reduce somebody's dependence on glasses. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stay this way forever because our eyes are changing as we get older. So one LASIK surgery might last for several years, especially if you're older, depending on your circumstances. Let's see. And I think I got all of our words there. So I'm going to call it quits there.